Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are, and welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, talk about nerd news that happened over the past week since our last show. And there's an awful lot of it to get into. So I am going to introduce myself. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer, Burley_adopter on Twitter and a couple of other places doing a couple of other things. We've got, as I said, quite a lot of stuff to go over here. And I know that this is not the best night for doing this. I think G4's launch event just wrapped up on its return to network activity, as opposed to its return as a YouTube channel, which happened a little less than a year ago. And the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer drops in a half an hour. So I'm going to rush through this stuff, folks, because I want to watch that trailer too. And if you are in the chats, please, give your opinion about any of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about here, or just say hello. That would be awesome. But I understand this might be a pretty quiet night. All right, so of course, Disney Plus Day happened, and there's a ton of stuff to go over. We're going to save all of that in a big block starting sort of in the middle and then the rest of the news. But we're going to start right off the bat with a bombshell. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to put this. That's Bobby Kotick, the CEO of Activision Blizzard. And the news is the Wall Street Journal published an article that essentially says that, and this is allegations based on reports in the article, that Bobby Kotick knew about the culture of sexual harassment and sexual abuse even at the company and for years, and basically did nothing about it, and not only did nothing about it, hid some of the worst occurrences from the Activision Blizzard board of directors. It's just amazing what this article alleges, based on interviews with people involved, victims of various harassment, abuse, and so on. Luminous, welcome to the show. Hello all, this is the place to be. I'm most excited about the green news. I think I know what that green news is. But yes, welcome to the show, Luminous. And so this article also alleges that Kotick himself, pardon me, that Kotick himself is allegedly a repeat offender as a harasser and an abuser. So as to things that he knew about and just didn't do anything about and covered up, the article claims that a former female employee at a studio owned by Activision alleged that she was raped by her male supervisor, according to this article. But Kotick never told the board about the alleged rape or about the settlement. The company ultimately settled with this victim, alleged victim. According to this, also about his own behavior in 2006, his assistant, complained that he had harassed her, including threatening in a voicemail to have her killed. That was also settled out of court, according to this article in the Wall Street Journal. And there are many, many other reports in this article of this kind of behavior. So Activision jumped right on this, and immediately the company and also its board of directors each put out their own separate statement, basically saying that they fully support, how wonderful Bobby Kotick has been for the company, and that they have a zero tolerance policy and so on. So the zero tolerance policy was announced as one of its new initiatives back on October 28th, which by my count makes it roughly 23 days that the zero tolerance policy was in effect, and now it is no longer in effect because they are clearly tolerating these allegations of Bobby Kotick's behavior. So, following on that, the company employees that had created their own internal group, it's not a union, but it's I don't know what you would call it, an an activist group within the company, staged a walkout. Again, this time again demanding that Kotick be fired. So, we'll have to see where this goes. I keep looking at Twitter and news sources and so on, and as of just before I went live, he's not fired. And the board has stated their, unconditional support for him. The board may be doing an internal investigation behind the scenes, and they, will have he stepped down in who knows how long. Or this could be like Ubisoft. And, they've already moved some people around internally. That happened at Activision Blizzard as well. Lots of people have, lost their jobs or, resigned. But nothing's happened at the top. At, Ubisoft or here at Activision Blizzard. So we'll keep watching this. I would like to think that the axe comes down on this neck real soon. But I'm not a betting man. And if I was, I wouldn't take that bet. All right. Moving on to better stuff. So, the newest trailer, and I believe the final trailer before the show actually drops on Netflix on December 1st for Lost in Space Season 3 is out. It's pretty amazing. You really get to see a good example of what it looks like they're trying to do with this final season. This is the final season of the show. And the robots are more numerous and way more terrifying. The fact that the kids and the parents are completely separated and are trying to get back together, it's intense, folks. I'm really looking forward to this. I can't wait to see this last season wrap up all of the storylines. It's a Netflix show and, there are kids involved. You got to assume that things are going to end up, for the better. But it looks like it's going to be a pretty wild ride getting there. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you're into this, it's a wonderful show. December 1st is when it drops this final season. And I'm going to be right there. So this is an interesting bit of news. That is, of course, cover art for Dr. Seuss's book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. And the news is that Warner Brothers Animation, or Warner Animation Group, and Dr. Seuss Enterprises are making a movie adaptation of this book, which is set to debut way out in 2027. So I guess they got that planned out quite well. But the real news here is that they hired John M. Chu to be the director, which is a really interesting take on or choice for an animated Dr. Seuss movie. He made Crazy Rich Asians. I haven't seen it yet, but from what I gather from what I've read, a wonderful movie, very funny. It just seems like such an odd choice. And this is Warner Animation Group, so this will be an animated movie of Oh, the Places You'll Go, which I can't see how that can be turned into a movie. I mean, it'll have the title and the animation, and somebody will go places. And maybe somebody will tell them how wonderful the places they're going to go will be. But there's got to be a story built around that, so be interesting to see. 6 years from now, who knows if this will even go anywhere. But, John M. Chu is attached to it, so we'll see. That is an image from the previous adaptation of the Spiderwick Chronicles. And the news is that Disney Plus. So I guess this was actually technically some Disney Plus stuff. So I'm a little, I'm a little ahead of the game. I think this got released outside of the Disney Plus stuff. Is going to be making a series adaptation of these fantasy books. So now this is the movie that was made with Freddie Highmore, Martin Short, Seth Rogen, Mary Louise Parker, and so on, which came out in 2003? 2006, I think. But Disney Plus has decided they are going to be making a series out of this. Disney Plus animators, obviously, it's going to be a live action series as far as I can tell. Very few details. They released some artwork, but it doesn't say much of anything else about it, or like when it might launch, or even who's involved. Disney Plus does an excellent job of making creatures look even better than that. I think it could be a good job. We'll have to see, though. It's obviously going to depend on who's writing it and then who they cast. Getting a child actor as good as Freddie Highmore, that's not easy. So we'll have to see where they take this. All right, this is, I think, aside from some of the Disney Plus stuff, this is absolutely my favorite announcement. Netflix has announced that they've cast that man there on the left as Uncle Iroh in the upcoming live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series. That is Paul Sun-Hyung Lee from Kim's Convenience. You might also recognize him from a couple of appearances in The Mandalorian as a X-Wing pilot, working as kind of adjunct police force out there where The Mandalorian is doing most of his working. It's a great casting. He was the lead in that series, Kim's Convenience. He is hilarious. He is also he's going to play Uncle Iroh the way Uncle Iroh should be played. I am absolutely sure. We covered the casting of various members of this live action adaptation before. They all look like they're going to do a heck of a job. They're all ethnically appropriate for the character types that they're playing. You've got indigenous North American people. You've got Asian actors. It's really awesome casting, and they just did it again with Paul Sun-Hyung Lee. Good job, Netflix. Whoever your casting agent is, or your casting people for at least these shows, just killing it. Absolutely killing it. I don't know if we've ever talked about what. Yeah, there's no hint as to when this is actually going to start or when it's going to be released. But along with this announcement, they announced that they just started filming. So filming in late 2021, maybe early 2023. That would be awesome. They also might wait until summer. Netflix likes to release things later in the year and not earlier, but we'll see. All right, so now we're really getting into, even though I sort of skipped over the Spiderwick Chronicles, we're really getting to stuff that was definitely announced on Disney Plus Day. That is artwork, because it's really the only thing we get to see, for the upcoming Predator prequel movie that will happen in summer 2022, called, and we finally get the title. That was the big announcement. It's Prey. Apparently the movie was shot under the title Skulls. So it's done by the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane, Dan Trachtenberg. And this is set in Comanche Nation 300 years ago. The character there is apparently named Naru, played by Amber Midthunder. With that name, I'm guessing the actress is, in fact, native. This character Naru is a skilled female warrior who fiercely protects her tribe against an alien predator. Interesting concept. I like the idea of exploring how different peoples, groups, and so on would react to the predator. They've certainly been around for that long, so we'll have to see. I thought 10 Cloverfield Lane was a good movie until they sort of crammed in all of the Cloverfield stuff. Because I believe, and I don't know this for sure, but I believe both of the last two in the Cloverfield universe movies were movies that were written and mostly done before Abrams' Bad Robot Company came in and picked it up and sort of forced them into Cloverfield Lane. Or into the Cloverfield franchise. Certainly the last one, the Cloverfield Paradox or whatever it was called, was like that. That movie was shot, had a different title, was all set. And then Abrams came in and went, oh, we're going to make this a Cloverfield movie. I think that's the case also with 10 Cloverfield Lane. And if that's the case, Trachtenberg's work as a director of really intense, tense, thriller, sort of psychological thriller stuff was on point. So I can see him doing a really good job with something like a Predator type movie. So kudos. Summer 2022. Looking forward to it. This is probably my second favorite casting announcement behind the casting for Uncle Iroh. The Disney Plus series Nemo, which tells the story of Captain Nemo as a younger captain, just after he basically stole the Nautilus from the East India Company. Luminous sounds good to me, and I'm assuming that's in reference to Prey. But this news is that guy there on the left, Shazad Latif, has been cast to play Captain Nemo. If you've not seen Star Trek Discovery, which is what this is from, this is the character Ash Tyler, you're missing out on one of the most amazingly complex performances in television or streaming recent memory. So the plot around his performance is so convoluted that I don't want to give anything away. So I'll just say that his character is the love interest for the main character of the series, Michael Burnham, and is somebody who will actually in the series we see go through horrific torture. Is a character who is suffering from the PTSD effects of that torture. Is a pawn in a game by Starfleet, or not? By the Federation's or Starfleet's secret police group, which was Sector 7, I think it's called. And all of that is sort of like the top 50% of the iceberg of what's going on with this character, and he nails every bit of it. I wish I could. Really don't want to spoil. I wish I could tell you the lower 50%, the remaining 50% of this complex plot and his performances in it, but I don't want to ruin that. It's just amazing. When I discovered it, my jaw dropped. Anyway, this is a great casting. This time, Disney, of course, Disney Plus. I was looking forward to it. I love the Captain Nemo story anyway. I like the idea of expanding out the earlier years. Now I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think this was put into a date yet. Yeah, we don't have it in this article. So if we mentioned a date, if it was in any of the previous articles, well, I think we've only ever talked about this once, so I guess not. I'm assuming this is going to be a while going forward. It's not in the Disney Plus logo image release that you'll see at the end of the show. So, yeah, definitely not, I'm guessing, even 2023, because a lot of the stuff is projected out into 2023. You know what? I'm just going to jump right ahead to that particular article. If I can find it. Well, I'll wait until we get then. Anyway, next topic. One of the most exciting little blurbs that we got, and a lot of these are little blurbs. That is, of course, Kathryn Hahn as Agatha Harkness. We found out the name of the series, the spin-off series that has already been announced that will be happening, is Agatha House of Harkness, which is kind of hard to parse. Is that a reference to House of M? Is it just a reference to we're going to be getting the story of, her earlier years, the Harkness family, back during the, Salem witch trials time? Who knows? But that's really all we get out of this, is that it is called, Agatha House of Harkness. We got almost no other information. So I'm looking real quickly here. They do not have in this overarching release timeline, they don't have Nemo in it. So yeah, Nemo's definitely going to be after 2023, as far as I can tell. But yeah, I'm obviously really jazzed about that. Agatha Harkness was one of the best characters in a wonderful, wonderful show. One thing we did get to see an extended teaser for, and that looks absolutely adorable, as you might imagine, is the new series coming up, Baymax. So Baymax basically takes a look at Baymax functioning as a healer, a care robot, and I'm really, really keen on this series. Baymax was probably the best part of Big Hero 6. I mean, that was a great, don't get me wrong, it was a great movie, but, just Baymax was fantastic. Summer 22 premiere, obviously Disney Plus, because that's where all of the stuff was announced. Looking forward to that. If you were a fan of Big Hero 6 or just Baymax in general, go check out this trailer. Again, it's just adorable. Way not adorable, but very exciting. We've actually got to see some footage from Moon Knight. And it's awesome. Oscar Isaac, of course, is going to kill this. There's no way he couldn't. But we get to hear some of the different identities that are inside the main character, Mark Spector, Moon Knight. At least we get to hear their voices. And unless somebody else is doing these voices, his accents and ability to just on a dime turn into a completely different person from a completely different country is fantastic. As I knew it would. I mean, it's Oscar Isaac. Yeah, come on. I know we've talked about this before as to when it drops, but I don't think it's actually in here. Oh, 2020, sometime in 2022. If you don't know the story of Moon Knight, it would take so long to go into it here. He's kind of, as people often compare him to, Marvel's Batman, except he wears all white. And he does have powers. He is possessed by, gifted with powers by. It's his background has changed a little bit, but it's always this Egyptian god of the moon, Khonshu. Then imagine that, a somewhat superpowered Batman who has dissociative identity disorder. And it's a really interesting story. There's some fantastic runs. I guess, everybody doesn't want to talk about anything, that Warren Ellis has done because of his problematic behavior and his admission to same. But his run back in, I think it was 2015, that era, with Declan Shalvey. I might be screwing up his name. Declan McShalvey? Anyway, the artist, fantastic artist, on Moon Knight, he was in there for 10 or 12 issues, is just perfect. We got to see, finally, some footage from Ms. Marvel. And it's wonderful to see somebody who is such an absolute nerd. This image up here is of Kamala Khan dressing up for a convention, an Avengers fan convention of all things. She adores Captain Marvel, so in a Captain Marvel outfit. And the trailer seems to indicate that she gets her powers at this convention. So obviously they're not going to do the Inhumans. The Inhumans in the comics, Ms. Marvel is an Inhuman. The Inhumans storyline is done. It's toast. They ruined it with the Inhumans series. They've made it pretty clear that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is probably another aspect of the multiverse as to where it takes place. So Inhumans may not exist in the main MCU. Pardon me. So, yeah. Whatever happens and however she gets her powers, the sort of energy burst that happens around her kind of seems sort of like what happened to Carol Danvers. It looks like it's associated with the kind of energy in an Infinity Stone. So, who knows? But yeah, so Ms. Marvel, summer 22 as well. 2022 as well. We got to see artwork for Obi-Wan, or for Kenobi. And it looks really good. We saw Ewan McGregor talking about the series and how excited he is, and so on. So I'm very much looking forward to it. He also talked up the participation of Hayden Christensen, and I am actually looking forward to that, if for no other reason than to see just how he's grown as an actor, because I really hope he has. I can't imagine he hasn't. But that's also sometime in 2022. It hasn't been pinned down. I'm guessing that means later in the year, but, who knows. And Luminous, here you go. That is just a little bit of the only little bit we get to see of She-Hulk in a fairly decently long teaser for She-Hulk. It starts off with Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters doing yoga, and one assumes to keep, the Hulk change thing into control, which would be an interesting difference because that's not a thing for Jennifer. She's generally in control all the time. And in the comics can switch back and forth, and so stays in the Hulk form a lot. But this also is clearly going to be based on the run where there's a number of runs that have been done where it really focuses on her as a lawyer, because she is a lawyer. We also got to see her working with her cousin Bruce Banner, although Bruce is in the Professor Hulk version and he does not have his arm in a sling. So I'm guessing that is a flashback occurred sometime, after the blip, after he had come to terms with the Hulk and basically merged into the Professor Hulk. So, but I don't think it takes place back then. I think that's a flashback. I think it takes place in modern times, or modern in the MCU, which is 5 years ahead of us. But yeah, so that looks awesome. It was a really cool tease. I'm very much looking forward to the show and Tatiana Maslany, to see, how she pulls this off. So much love for this in my social media, Twitter, Facebook, and so on. The return of the X-Men 90s animated series, updated as a sequel. Luminous. She-Hulk looks good so far. This is the Marvel show I most want to see. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. I think they will knock Moon Knight out of the park. I think Moon Knight is a complex enough character that there is so much to mine. They're completely different. Moon Knight is going to be a dark, serious series, obviously, and they've absolutely described, in fact, they've officially described She-Hulk as a comedy series. And it would be interesting to see them, see how they handle something that is pretty much a straight-up comedy. An action comedy, hopefully, but certainly a comedy. But yeah, so they announced this X-Men 97 is going to be a continuation, a sequel to the 90s X-Men series, with similar animation style, character designs and so on. And then huge ups to our team member Chocobobot, who posted this announcement from Twitter that Amelia, I've got her Twitter, Amelia Vidal, a character designer artist working for Marvel Studios, has been named as the lead character designer, and on her Twitter feed already dropped a bunch of new character designs or redesigns. And here's just, two of them, obviously Scott and Jean. And I really like what they're doing here. Scott is absolutely clearly identifiable as the Scott from the 90s cartoon. That, long square jaw, you put a handle at the end of that, or at the other end of that jaw, and he's a pie cutter. And the costume design, everything else is exactly the same, except it's a modern, updated look. But then Jean, while the costume is essentially the same, the look of the character has obviously been updated to reflect modern sensibilities for female design. And if you get a chance, if you're on Twitter, go search Amelia Vidal. It's at AME Vidal. And look at the rest of the designs, because, Beast, Jubilee, they're all in there, and they are all really good, slight updates, usually for the men, more significant updates for the women, and they're all awesome. So if you get a chance, go check those out. I'm really looking forward to this. My involvement in the X-Men goes way back, obviously, to the 60s and the original run of the comics. But I really appreciated the X-Men 90 series. They did some pretty challenging things for a series in the 90s. Even if their costume designs are based on the worst costume designs, hands down, of X-Men characters. Costume design in the 90s at Marvel should just kind of have a mulligan. Or put into like a special box, and where you just sort of look at it and go, and then in the 90s, people thought this was something that was cool. But anyway. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if that actually had an announcement about when this might drop. I don't seem to see it in either of these articles that I've got up about this. But I really like the fact, oh, here we go, 2023. My bad. And then the last thing that we have here is basically, this is the screen that they put up there with all of the titles. We knew that they were making a spin-off of Echo from the Hawkeye series. That's in there. What If Season 2 is a new announcement. The Marvel Zombies is a new announcement. They are possibly doing a spin-off of the zombies from the What If episode, or they might actually be doing something a little different and really remaking the Marvel Zombies comics, because they're different storylines. We get to see the logo for Ironheart. That's cool. A new logo for Secret Invasion, although that's not really different. They did show one image of Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury with a gray beard and no eye patch. So you can see the scars and the whitish eye. But there wasn't anything else that was revealed. Spider-Man, freshman year. That's what it is. Spider-Man freshman year is, I think, one of the more interesting things that's out there, or in this announcement. It is the Tom Holland Spider-Man, designed very much how Steve Ditko might have drawn him, and the story of Spider-Man's freshman year in high school. Just the one image they've shown of Peter Parker in that Steve Ditko-esque style, but obviously updated for modern sensibilities and so on. It looks... This could be the sleeper right here. But also, it's announced at Disney Plus Day, so it's going to be a Disney Plus series. Spider-Man will be in an independent series on Disney Plus. So either there's been some really interesting contract negotiations going on between Sony and Disney that we didn't hear about, or maybe this was part of the deal all along. I don't know, but that's not what I gather. So, we'll have to see. I wouldn't be surprised if a little bit down the road there's an announcement about a vast amount of billions going into Sony's pockets, and Spider-Man coming back. They're doing an awful lot of integration with the Spider-Man knockoff movies. With Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and don't want to spoil the ending, but, there's, ultimately Venom winds up in the MCU, and how that happens, just, but it's pretty clear that this is, all of this stuff is sort of coming together with, Adrian Toomes, the Vulture in Mobius. Then Mobius is clearly at some point in the MCU, if not entirely in the MCU. So there's something going on behind the scenes there, and I really am keen to find out what it is and what it means for the Spider-Man franchise going forward. But this is an indication that there is big, big stuff happening. Spider-Man's getting his own animated series on Disney Plus. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's pretty much it, folks. That wraps up our show. If you get a chance, please do go check us out at patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Consider being a patron. We'd love to have your support so we can get out to more cons now that the cons are a thing. Knock wood that they stay that way. And basically provide you more content on these various platforms that we're on. Then with that, Luminous, I always like seeing Peter Parker in high school. I have high hopes for the show. In the original comic book, he graduates from high school way too soon, in my opinion. I think, I don't know why they did that, whether or not they felt they needed to move the stories into more serious issues and they didn't want him necessarily to be a high school kid at that time. Like, in the very late 60s when they started getting into, Harry Osborn and his drug addiction. That's a really tough thing to do when you're doing a high school story, certainly in the 60s. I guess they felt they needed to put him into college at that point. But yeah, I agree. All right, folks, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Luminous, for being in the chat. Thank you, everybody else, for watching us. We will see you next week. Big change. We were supposed to be doing Foundation for our upcoming Thursday show, Full Fat Spoiler Chat. And my bad. I thought, because of the fact that they dropped 2 episodes at once, that the 10 episodes would end this week. Well, it does. It ends the day after. It ends on Friday. So we're still figuring out what we're going to be doing for Full Fat Spoiler Chat. I will certainly post up the information tomorrow, but I'm waiting to see who is going to weigh in with their various opinions about what we should be doing. There's a bunch of options that are up there. Right now, it seems like most of the votes are weighting towards Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. But again, we'll have that announcement tomorrow. So thank you all for joining us. Please, folks, stay safe, stay warm. It's getting wicked cold up here in New England. I've had relatives who already had snow on the ground, which disappeared fairly quickly in the sun, but still. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. We will hopefully see some of you at Super Mega Fest. Some of you will be at Anime NYC, and we'll have a team there. Let's all have fun safely.